Dental assistant Coyote Satchel has been sentenced to life in prison for the murder of 8-year-old Danielle Rowe. She will be eligible for parole after serving 27 years and 4 months. The decision was handed down by Supreme Court Judge Justice Carolyn Ty Powell on Friday. Satchel was also sentenced to 6 years and 3 months for child stealing. The sentences are to run concurrently. During the sentencing, Justice Ty Powell described what Satchel did to Danielle as sheer evil and said that with Danielle's death, her family has been deprived of so much, noting Danielle's brother who asks for her every day and her sister who is always angry and wants to die. Satchel, by her own admission, snatched Rowe from Brayton Primary and Infant School in Portmore, St. Catherine on June 8, 2023, and took her to a location in St. Andrew where she fed her a meal before slashing her throat. The mortally wounded child was found by a member of the Jamaica Defense Force on Roosevelt Avenue in St. Andrew. She succumbed to her injuries in hospital 2 days later on June 10. In September this year, Satchel pleaded guilty to the acts, which caused widespread horror and outrage. She claimed she was driven to commit the crime out of bitterness and frustration at being jilted by the child's father, who she said infected her with HIV. A farmer of New River, St. Elizabeth, is suspected to have died after she became entangled with a rope on a cow on Wednesday. She has been identified as 49-year-old Nadine Thompson. Ms. Thompson was found by another farmer about 11:30 a.m. The rope from the cow was wrapped around Ms. Thompson's foot and the animal had injuries to its leg. It's suspected that she was trying to free the animal from the rope when the mishap occurred. Clunas Malcolm, the farmer who found her, said he was alerted to the injured woman when he heard groans and went to investigate.
Right away, my son said, "Don't want to go with you." I just saw she carry go. So when you go on now, I not even see her. I go on here, one make a sound like one pig, and make sound. So I say, "How is this pig do that so?" So when I go up now for which part me I walk on the road, on the road, you know, come on. We can't see her, but me hear groan. So when I go up to go with you, you know, I look, me see somebody and I say, "How is this?" I'm not even know that she from the thing she gone to work. Alright, so when you go up and look, when I say to Nadine, lie down on her back, a pay foam, come out her mouth.
Ms. Thompson was taken to hospital where she was pronounced dead. The police are awaiting the results of a post-mortem to determine the cause of death. U.S. Navy Petty Officer Leoda Bradshaw and her co-accused had their bail applications denied when they appeared before the Supreme Court on Friday. Bradshaw and 3 others are charged with the abduction and killing of 10-month-old Sarah Paulwell, the daughter of Member of Parliament Philip Paulwell, and her mother Toshina Patterson. Bradshaw, who shares a child with Paulwell, has been charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to murder, 2 counts conspiracy to kidnapping, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 2 counts of murder. Her co-accused are Roland Balfour, who has been charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to murder, 2 counts of conspiracy to kidnapping, and Ms. Prison of Felon, Roshane Miller, who has been charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to murder, 2 counts conspiracy to kidnapping, and Ms. Prison of Felon, and Richard Brown, who has been charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to murder, 2 counts of conspiracy to kidnapping, and 2 counts of kidnapping. One of 3 alleged car thieves is now hospitalized after he was shot and injured by licensed firearm holders who reportedly thwarted an attempt to steal a car in Portmore, St. Catherine. Reports are that about 4:10 a.m. on Thursday, the alleged criminals were in Johnson Hill in Hell's Higher attempting to steal a Toyota Probox motor car when they were accosted by 2 firearm holders. During the incident, 1 man was shot and injured while the others fled the scene. The wounded man was taken to hospital for treatment. The Portmore Criminal Investigations Branch is probing the incident.
Patients seeking care at the Spanish Town Hospital and St. Jago Health Center in St. Catherine are benefiting from shorter wait times. This is one of the many benefits that's flowing from the implementation of the Electronic Health Records (EHR) system earlier this year. During a recent tour of the facilities to observe the system, Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton said the electronic platform was based on the philosophy of one patient, one record.
And what that means is that whatever data that is inputted concerning the patient when they come to see a doctor at a health center or hospital in this case, that data is pulled up based on their unique identification number. And you immediately know the history of the patient and therefore all the factors that may influence a treatment regime in a much quicker way.
It allows for the uploading and sharing of patient health records right across the public health system, including a seamless interface of critical diagnostic imaging that will enable doctors to see X-rays and CT scans on computers and tablets. There is also a patient registration system for appointment setting and assignment of patients in the triage process of a facility. After first being introduced at the Maypen Hospital, Spanish Town is the second hospital to implement the electronic health record system.
It's quicker and more efficient because now instead of multiple persons having to wait on a physical record, they can all access the record at the same time regardless of where they are in the health facility. So that means that there's a shorter time period for patients to wait.
Government has tabled legislation in Parliament aimed at increasing fines, updating related custodial sentences, and modernizing the legal framework for environmental management in Jamaica. They are the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act, NRCA, and the Wildlife Protection Act. Both were tabled on December 10 by the Leader of Government Business in the House of Representatives, Minister Edmund Bartlett, on behalf of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA. The proposed amendments include increasing the maximum fine for offences under both pieces of legislation to $5 million. The amendments also introduce distinctions between offences committed by individuals and body corporates, with body corporates now subject to judgments in the Circuit Court. This change allows for the imposition of penalties based on the severity of the environmental crime. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Matthew Samuda, says the aim is to complete the overhaul of these legislation in the 2025-2026 financial year. To ensure a robust framework for protecting Jamaica's natural resources, he says the ministry will also be conducting a review of the enforcement capacity of all its environmental management agencies with regulatory authority. These include the National Environment and Planning Agency, the Forestry Department, and the Water Resources Authority. Bilateral trade between Jamaica and India has increased by $116 million, or 26%, in the past year. President of Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO, Shillette Cox, says this remarkable increase on the previous year's figure is evidence of a growing dedication of two countries to nurture mutual economic prosperity. She points out that Jamaica has welcomed 4 delegations from India in the last 2 years and facilitated the International Startup Foundation, ISF, Global CXO Summit in June of this year, attracting an Indian delegation of over 15 companies. JAMPRO's president says conversations initiated at this summit opened new doors for strategic partnerships in sectors such as knowledge process outsourcing, business process outsourcing, agri-tech, fintech, and the creative industries.
Just this year alone, we at JAMPRO are very pleased to have facilitated 2 investment projects, one in digital services and one in agriculture, with principals that are from India. And I believe that this is only a sign of even bigger and better things to come.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Senator Aubin Hill, says he is anticipating even more economic cooperation and investments from India and Indian investors.
We're looking to see Indians investing in Jamaica. We are not looking for loans. Prime Minister has made it very clear that even as we pivot, we're not pivoting to borrow to build an economy.
Senator Hill was addressing a business and ethics event organized by the Indian High Commission recently. The minister expressed pleasure with arrangements made between the two countries as Jamaica pivots to become efficient in areas of digital technology and training, as well as upskilling of the workforce.
We are pleased that the Prime Minister made these arrangements, especially in upskilling our people and the technology that we need, because if we're going to lead, and we are going to lead in the Caribbean, the only place is to go forward. If we are going to continue to lead, we're going to have to be a lot more efficient and digitized than we are today.
And finally, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Floyd Green, is urging Jamaicans to stay informed on food prices by regularly checking updates in the major newspapers and on the ministry's website. This comes amid concerns over recent price hikes on some commodities during the Christmas season. Minister Green explains that while farmers have faced challenges leading to price adjustments, major price increases are often occurring at the resale level, not at the farm gate.
For example, when we look at the average price for local plummy tomato, it is about $660 per kilogram. However, in the Kingston metropolitan area, the same commodity is sold at an average price of $1,694 per kilogram, with prices climbing to as high as $2,070 per kilogram.
The minister says certain commodities such as pumpkin, callaloo, papaya, and watermelon have shown stability in prices with no significant changes over the past 2 weeks. But overall, he highlights discrepancies in prices between retailers, stressing that consumers need to be cautious when making purchasing decisions.
If you are not prudent in your decision making, you may really face the brunt of very high prices. For example, string beans. At one retailer, we found that string beans was being retailed for $1,319 per kilogram, while at another retailer in the Kingston metropolitan area, it was being retailed for $2,321 per kilogram. That's a 76% price difference between outlets.
Mr. Green was addressing a press briefing at his ministry recently. He says consumers can expect to see some price normalization by mid-January to early February 2025 as local production stabilizes. For ongoing updates, consumers can access price information on the ministry's official website at www.moa.gov.jm.
A senior manager of lighting company Fosrich is dead after a gun attack during broad daylight in the Moulins Road area of St. Andrew on Thursday. Our newsroom understands that the man was traveling in a black sports utility vehicle in the area sometime after 4 p.m. when, upon reaching in the vicinity of Tarrant Drive, he was shot by gunmen on motorcycles. The man subsequently attempted to drive towards Halfway Tree but crashed into a gray Honda Fit before succumbing to his injuries. It is understood that the gunman escaped, leaving behind one of the motorcycles, which has been seized by the police. The incident resulted in a traffic gridlock in the area.